prevent bigger issues. That bubble doubling in size that I mentioned before. By proactively addressing small issues, you do prevent them from turning into a larger, more complicated problem that you want not to have on your to-do list. So I'm going to give you 5 tips to handle these difficult conversations. Hey there, I'm Mags, also known as the Marketer Whisperer. If you've ever felt the doubts and pressures of leadership starting to sap your confidence and passion for this amazing job, then this podcast is for you. As a former marketer myself, I've lived through the chaos of consumer brands for over 16 years, so I do get what you're going through. And that's enough to leave any smart and driven marketer feeling like a burnt out version of their former self. But it doesn't have to be this way. So on this show, I'll be sharing pragmatic tips and also real stories to help you feeling confident, creative, and passionate about marketing leadership again. As a marketing leader, you've likely faced numerous challenging situations in the first 6 months into your new role, or even beyond that. Among the most challenging tasks is probably having difficult conversations with your team. That comes across quite often with the people that I talk to. Whether it's addressing performance issues, resolving conflicts, or even delivering tough feedback, these conversations are crucial for team cohesion and overall performance. So today we're going to explore why difficult conversations are essential, and I'm going to give you 5 tips to handle them effectively later on in the podcast. So why are they important, those difficult conversations that we try to avoid kind of most of the time? They're vital for several reasons. First of all, clarity. They do ensure that issues are addressed openly. They reduce misunderstandings, and that's a big one. And they also create a culture of transparency that helps build better relationship between you and the team. The second one is performance. Constructive feedback helps individuals to grow and improve, and therefore enhancing and improving their performance. The third one is actually a key one. It's conflict resolution. When you address conflicts head on, you prevent them from escalating. You prevent them from promoting a kind of a toxic work environment. You actually promote a healthier work environment, if anything. There's nothing worse than a bubble doubling in size, and you want to burst that bubble. So the fourth one is trust. Honest conversations absolutely build trust between you and your team. And if there's anything as a marketing leader you want to make sure you nurture consistently, and consistently is a key word here, is trust. It's showing that you're committed to their development, to their well-being, and especially if you're starting in a new leadership role, building a healthy level of trust needs to be your number one thing on your to-do list. Not the campaign, not the, brand planning meeting presentation to the board. These are very important stuff and quite critical in your role. But if you don't have the trust of your team, this is going to be, your brand planning process is going to be a much lengthier process to go through and with more pain, really. Think about it a bit more, and I'll probably do a podcast about that, about trust, to go a bit deeper on that topic, because it's really important. It's a word that's been used perhaps too much or too often without going into deeper levels, that it's become a bit of a wallpaper word in the corporate world. But that's a mistake. And the fifth one is to prevent bigger issues. That bubble doubling in size that I mentioned before. By proactively addressing small issues, you do prevent them from turning into a larger, more complicated problem that you want not to have on your to-do list. So I'm going to give you 5 tips to handle these difficult conversations. First one, prepare. Yes. Preparation is everything. Preparation is key to a successful, difficult conversation. Sorry for my voice, by the way. I think I caught a cold. I had a migraine yesterday, and I bought that really cold cap that I've wore overnight that really helped me. But I think as a result, I got a cold. So sorry if you find my voice a bit odd today. Preparation is key to a successful, difficult conversation, just like I said. So how do you do that? You gather all relevant information. You gather examples and data to support your points. There is no point perhaps the exception, but there is no point in giving a um, negative feedback, constructive feedback, however you want to call it, about one situation, one time in, the timeline of your employee, if you can't actually show there's a pattern going on, because there's probably going to be reasons why they failed, why they missed it, while, why, what's the barrier and the reason why it didn't work. When there is a pattern happening, so basically you find at least 2 points in the timeline where that happened, at least two or three, then it indicates there's a pattern going on. It's much easier then to kind of spot that as being an issue and therefore to solve it. You need to anticipate the person's perspective and potential reactions. You don't know what mood they're going to be in, but it's really important to put yourself in their shoes. I can't stress this enough because it is not about you. It is about the situation, them, and their perspective, in fact. So this part of the preparation really helps you to stay focused, and it does ensure the conversation is going to be productive and not personal. You go back to data points, examples, information. When you focus more on that, emotions do shrink a little bit. And that's really important to be a bit more I don't want to say logical, but focused on the matter as opposed to on a wave of emotions. So, for instance, if discussing you want to discuss a performance issue, sorry, have specific examples of where expectations were not met and be ready to offer constructive solutions. You've got to help him or her to realize what's going on and also identify a route to grow and to learn from those situations, from the stuff that's not worked. Sorry again. The second point is choosing the right setting. Don't make it a big deal. Don't go into like a boardroom where nobody can see you, but the environment in which you have the conversation can significantly impact its outcome. I have seen a few times, in fact, in my career, managers giving those kind of feedbacks, performance feedback, in an open space area. And some people could hear, I did hear what was going on. That wasn't really comfortable for the person who was being given the feedback, but also for the people around. You just don't know how to behave, what to do. You're at your desk, but this is an open space, and that's really uncomfortable. So I really would advise to select a private, kind of neutral space where both of you can be comfortable and free from interruptions. You do not want people to kind of walk by and say, hi, well done on that stuff, or have you seen the latest POS, that's arrived in the office. You do not want interruptions. You want to create some safe atmosphere in order to have an open dialogue. But also don't go the extreme way of, booking the boardroom because it's so private and nobody can see inside. It's just going to bring a bit of anxiety, perhaps, for the person you're going to land the message to. Avoid having these discussions in public or high stress environment. That's basically what I'm saying, because it can exacerbate tensions and inhibit honest conversations. The third one is be direct and empathetic. Direct and empathetic is a really good combination. And when I say be direct, some people are going to be like, "Oh gosh, I'm really more of a people pleaser. This is not my style." And when you hear the word direct, you may just see the very red type typical profiles of leaders. If this is not you, you've got a way for you to be direct. So look at how direct you can be. Your definition of being direct and empathetic. That's key. When I said, earlier on, anticipate the other person's perspective, this is being empathetic. Put yourself in their shoes. So don't sugarcoat the feedback. There's always the sandwich methods and stuff, but don't sugarcoat it. Don't minimize what's been going on, because in fact, it's not going to help them. Always remain empathetic. This is not a test of your authority as a leader. It's not. This moment is not a test. Your test is, just like with everything in life, is in the longevity of it all, the consistency of it all. It's not, you don't need to be super authoritative this time around because you lack confidence and you want to show that you can be the boss and you can land really difficult message in a very direct way without empathy. No, great leaders are getting to the core of the issue and they do it in an empathetic way. Not but, and. So you can approach the conversation with a really good balance of honesty and empathy. That those two are not incompatible. In fact, when you interlace those two little circles, honesty and empathy, the greatest place to be is in the middle. Be clear and direct about the issue. So again, use your preparation that you've done in the first place, gathering information, examples, and data to support that point, and avoid vague language or sugarcoating the message, just like I said, because that's just you're gonna lose the message anyway. You're gonna lose the point, and the person is just not gonna get it. And maybe they're gonna think it's even bigger than what you're saying, but they're not quite grasping, and that's gonna frustrate them and also you at the same time. Whilst you're doing that, being clear and direct about the issue, so try to use not many words, try to be succinct, and in your preparation do that. Try to make a sentence quite short, because when people are receiving a performance issue feedback, for example, it's never a happy moment or a comfortable moment, and sometimes we don't necessarily, when we're on the receiver end of it, we don't necessarily hear every word. We sometimes are a bit in our own heads, and trying to figure out what's happening right now. You've prepared, they haven't. They're hearing right off the cuff what you have to say about their performance. You have had time to prepare. So be very mindful of that. Um, so, therefore, whilst you're delivering a clear and direct message, show empathy and understanding for the other person's feelings and perspective. So, for example, start with acknowledging their efforts before addressing the area of concern, and ask questions. I know I said that to every person I coach in my work. Questions are an absolute skill to hone. Ask questions. Be curious about where they come from, how they've approached the project, how they feel about the current results, what are their views, whatever the topic is. Prepare your questions and be genuinely curious. You might understand some insights you were not really aware of that would explain actually how they that would explain their approach. And this will demonstrate that you respect them as an individual whilst you're being committed to resolving the issue and to helping them grow. You can see, you can be, it's not really tough love, I guess. It's just being honest and pointing the finger at something that's not worked, but you respect them as an individual, and you want to hear their perspective, not just for the sake of it, but because you really want to understand how they feel about it, how they've approached it, and maybe you will actually side with them because there was stuff you were not aware of. Fourth point, listen actively. Be interested in their perspective. No one can listen actively without being truly, genuinely interested in hearing someone's perspective. And that's the key to it. Active listening is very crucial in difficult conversations. I know it's become a generic word as well that we all use in, like, I don't know how many, trainings, but if you're genuinely interested in their perspective, you will actively listen. Give the other person a chance to share their side of the story without interruption. Let them talk. If they pause, they don't know what else to say, don't necessarily jump in. Let a bit of a silence be, and make sure your body language show that they're in a place that you are interested. Give them more time, and if you feel this is your time to talk again. Show that you're genuinely interested in understanding their perspective by nodding, maintaining eye contact, summarizing their points. And that practice not only builds trust, but also provides you with valuable insights that can help, in finding a mutually agreeable solution going forward. The trust piece, again, is really important. When they will feel respected, heard, they will trust you because you've got their back. You're interested in, generally them growing as a better manager, better leader. Fifth point is focus on the way forward. Instead of dwelling on the problem, steer the conversation towards finding solutions, towards the way forward. So discuss and collaborate, in fact, with the other person to develop actionable steps that address the issue. And maybe you can set clear expectations for the future and do it together so it doesn't come just from you to them. They get involved and they will commit um, with you on that. They can also assess whether that's something realistic or not. For example, if the conversation is about missed deadlines on a project, discuss specific strategies or what kind of support they might need to improve time management. There's loads of solutions to be put in place. What kind of specific strategies and solutions do they want, and do they agree and they need your support with? So this focus on solutions helps actually end the conversation on a positive way forward note. And that creates a sense of partnership, ownership, collaboration, and trust. So, yes, you're the manager, but that doesn't exclude collaboration and partnership in finding a way forward. So, I hope this has really helped you see that you can deliver a tough message in a way that is comfortable for the both of you. And I'm going to give you a quick example of, say, imagine you're a marketing director in an FMCG company, and one of your senior brand manager, Sarah, has been underperforming for the past quarter, right? Her latest marketing campaign did not meet the expected ROI, and she's missed several key deadlines, and that's impacted the overall project timeline. So it's probably time for a difficult conversation to address these issues that you have observed. Sarah's probably aware of that, but also and to get Sarah back on track. There's plenty of reasons why this has happened, and your objective is to understand them. Here's how you can apply the 5 tips I've mentioned here to handle difficult conversations in this situation with Sarah. So first, prepare thoroughly. So before you meet with Sarah, gather specific data and example of her underperformance. So review the campaign matrix, have a look at the missed deadlines, and maybe any feedback from other team members or the agencies, and prepare to discuss these points clearly and objectively. So just have a few bullet points. So it could be that, the recent campaign for product X achieved a 5% ROI, whereas the target was 10%. And on the missed deadlines, you could say something like, you missed the deadline for the social media content calendar, which delayed the overall project by 2 weeks. So that's the first step. Second step, we said choosing the right setting. You've got to either do it online, because nowadays we do stuff from our own place of living, but also if you go to the office, and I suggest you could do that face to face. You can select a quiet private meeting room where you can have this uninterrupted conversation. So you can schedule the meeting at a time where you and her can focus without feeling rushed. So book a private meeting room, choose a time in the afternoon when there are fewer distractions than in the morning. Third one, being direct and empathetic. So you could start the conversation by acknowledging Sarah's efforts and contributions before addressing the performance issues. Don't make it an obvious sandwich approach, but really be genuine in giving her feedback about how you appreciate the stuff she's developed, the stuff she's worked on, and give her specific examples again. Use clear and direct language to discuss the problems while showing empathy for her situation. So, something like, "Oh, Sarah, I appreciate the creativity that you bring to our team and all the dedication to our brand. That's really been so useful in," and then you give a specific example. However, we need to address some of the concerns about the recent campaign's performance and the missed deadlines. How does that sound? The fourth step is to listen actively. And by that, I mean, by giving Sarah the opportunity to explain her side of the story and listening, genuinely being interested in her perspective without interrupting and showing that we understand her perspective. Because this could absolutely reveal underlying issues that maybe you were not aware of. Some issues with the agencies, an account manager there that's just not doing their job, not checking stuff, being very late at delivering the social media content calendar. And Sarah perhaps was just struggling to get on top of the delays they created. You know, it could be plenty of stuff. You're not in the shoes of Sarah every day. So give her a chance to actually analyze, give you her perspective on what's happened. So, can you help me understand what challenges you faced that led to the campaign not meeting our ROI targets? You can nod, maintain eye contact as she explains, as she summarizes her points to show that you are engaged and you are on her side, understanding what went wrong and how you can help. Actually, we're going to the fifth step, which is to focus on the solutions, the way forward. So, work together with Sarah to develop a plan that will address the issues and also set clear expectations for the future, for the next campaign. We're not talking about how we could have done stuff better. We're not talking about the past is the past, it's done. We can't revisit the past. We can learn from it and offer support and resources so that for the next campaign, we can have a plan in place and help Sarah improve her performance or maybe, um, the relationship with the agency, if that was the issue. So let's outline some strategies to improve the campaign performance. What additional training in data analysis would be helpful, or what kind of support would you need in order to better handle the relationship with the agency or this account manager? How can we ensure deadlines are met moving forward? What are the blocks and the obstacles that we can tackle together? Would setting interim check ins help you stay on track? What are your thoughts? Ask questions, suggest stuff if you feel that Sarah is a bit stuck and it's just so new to her, she hasn't time to prepare. You could, I'm just thinking out loud here, you could also have labeled the chat with a review of the campaign so that it gives also Sarah the opportunity to prepare herself for that talk. She probably would suspect that we're going to talk about the missed deadlines and the delay and the ROI not being met. It's also another way to approach that discussion. So you can see how by preparing thoroughly, by choosing a good setting, by being direct and empathetic, by being genuinely interested in someone's perspective, therefore listening actively, and then focusing on the way forward, on the solution, you can handle difficult conversation and really create a positive outcome for everyone. In this scenario that I've made up, um, addressing Sarah's underperformance with these strategies not only helped her improve, but also strengthened you as a leader, strengthened your skills, and helped you build a more resilient team. They know they can actually come to you. They can, mess stuff up. You're not perfect either. I'm not perfect. We are not great at our job all of the time. We are bad at times. And what makes us actually great is because we recognize that. We recognize the times we're bad and we improve. The toxic people are those who are bad consistently and never realize they are bad. So therefore, there's no will to improve at all. So embrace these conversations as opportunities for growth, ensuring that your team remains aligned and motivated throughout, and do it consistently. It's going to be really important to do that. So I hope it's really helped you realize how you can do that in an effective manner, but also in your own way. You don't have to become Mrs. Nasty in order to deliver difficult conversations. Absolutely not. Um, Give me your feedbacks, and I will talk to you next week about another marketing leadership topic of heart. Thank you for joining me on another insightful episode of The Marketing Whisperer. If you found value in this episode, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a rating and a review on the podcast app of your choice. It really would help me reach more marketing leaders like you who could benefit from these insights in return. And I'd love if you would join upon my community of marketing leaders. All details are available on my website, startingblockscoaching.com. And lastly, if you're seeking one-to-one coaching, group workshops maybe for your team, leadership training, marketing expertise or career advice, basically everything that makes you a better marketing leader, feel free to get in touch with me on LinkedIn. Search for Magali Leroux. I don't know how else to pronounce it to make it easier. Speak soon.